Good morning, it's 5 Live Breakfast. It's Friday morning. Sufferers of Lyme disease will be protesting outside the Department of Health later. They think the NHS is failing to diagnose the illness properly. Now, it's transmitted by tick bites, and more than 3,000 people in the UK are thought to contract it every year. Tony Bent suffered for years before being diagnosed with Lyme's disease and will be at today's protest. Morning, Tony.
Good morning.
What happened? What was the first sign that things weren't right?
Well, it actually happened a few years after I was bitten by a tick. It was in February 2011. I had this immense chest pains, and I kind of collapsed into A&E in Basildon. This is where I live, and I was diagnosed with a pericarditis, like a heart condition where my heart was twice the size of pleurisy. It was so painful, and all through that year I had problems with like chronic fatigue and liver failure, and I developed neurological symptoms like cognitive dysfunction, and nobody knew what the problem was. I was told that it was viral, which is a common kind of thing, but I did a lot of research myself because I developed loads of symptoms throughout the year. I mean, it really is a strange disease which can just attack any part of the body. But,
so you're saying the disease was lying dormant for a number of years, was it?
Yes, that tends to be what happened. I mean, since being diagnosed, there's a big community of people out there who've been in the same position. You know, who've been kind of abandoned by the NHS, found out where they've got themselves and had to go private for treatment because nobody seems to understand the disease in this country, you know.
Yeah, tell us more. You were aware that a tick had bitten you, were you? What happened?
Yeah,
Where did you pick up the tick?
I was doing my own research, and when I read about my symptoms, Lyme disease kept popping up all the time, and it was a bacterial infection. I thought, well, they told me it was viral, so I kind of like ignored the bacterial side, and then when I actually read into it and read about a tick bite and what it can do to you, I was actually astounded, and it was like an epiphany. And I kind of went back to my GP and the rheumatologist that I was seeing at the time, armed with all this information, saying, look, this is it. This is what happened to me.
Yeah, what kind of reaction did you get to that?
Yeah. Well, I got laughed at by the rheumatologist and, told I was crazy, and, it's a common thing. But, I mean, people have just been treated so terribly. There's so many similar stories.
The difficulty is there isn't an absolute test, is there, for Lyme's disease? No,
that's the problem. The tests that are available at the moment, there's a two-tier testing process. That if you pass the first test, there's another test. But they only test for antibodies, which isn't a direct test for the actual bacteria itself.
Do you know where you picked up the tick from?
Yeah, it was locally in Basildon. I was out walking a dog. It was a nice sunny day. I had shorts on. I come back and the tick was attached to my leg. It was fully engorged. It was like a pebble. I pulled it out, didn't think anything of it, and actually a week later, I mean, my ankle was really swollen with a rash that was expanding up my leg. I went to my GP and he diagnosed it as cellulitis, and that's another common misdiagnosis when I was doing the research.
Can it be treated once you've identified it?
Well, if it's identified early, it can be treated with 4 to 6 weeks antibiotics and you won't have any chronic problems at all. If left untreated, the bacteria, it leaves the bloodstream and it drills its way into your organs and lays dormant. It's a spiral-shaped bacteria that can drill through cells, and it can affect any part of the body. I mean, with me it was the heart, the brain, central nervous system, and yeah, it's a really nasty disease. So.
Yeah, no, it sounds awful, but I'm glad you're able to kind of get to the bottom of it in the end. Thank you very much, Tony.
Okay, well, we've got the protest today, and there's also a petition. There's on the iPetitions website where the people can see some more information. There's lots of people who've put their own stories on there, so if they want to find out more, it's the UK Lyme petition on the iPetitions website. But it's a horrible disease to find yourself with, because if you haven't got any money, then you can end up in a wheelchair, and it can also be deadly. It's cost me £25,000 to get anywhere near back to normal because I've had to go private. And like I say, unfortunately, it seems to be swept under the carpet at the moment by the Department of Health, so we're trying to change things.
Well, Tony, thanks very much for telling us about it all. This is what the Department of Health says. We're working closely with Public Health England and NHS England to raise awareness of Lyme disease and have guidance available for use in GP surgeries. We're using the latest world-class diagnostic test to look for the disease in patients with symptoms.